gonna be the death of me,
Like
probably.
average K through with
Yeah.
unintended.
Because they're awesome.
17, 16.
This is all.
And then you
Yeah.
get
Like, they're,
And I had them for 3 years because, well, you know, because
premium for the.
they were such a bad idea in sixth grade. Hiawatha.
but there's some of my favorite things. Jair writes the most beautiful poetry.
Oh, really? See, I didn't. 2 years. 2 years.
He's a brilliant poet.
See, yeah, see, I didn't plan that really good. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have them both.
Came early at different times.
Yeah.
I have 1/3 and 1/4. But Jair have with Miguel and Poncho and Angel Venus. And so, you know, some days
All
it's
right,
a little
everybody good? Everybody got their checklist? Feel happy? Home collective? Feel like we're making progress?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna work on it from this way all the way over here. Pull open each section. If you wanna say something about it, you know, that's open for discussion. I already did mine when I came in here, and so we'll start with Desert Oasis High School. And this is, the first thing I put was an outreach program. Every alternative school I've ever seen usually builds an outreach program that funds its alternative schools. Now, I know technically we're not an alternative school, but if it looks like a duck, acts like a duck, walks like a duck, it probably is a duck. And usually you have an outreach program that helps fund and keep your FTE account for your alternative school. So an outreach, it could be Desert Oasis or the high school. It really wouldn't matter where it goes. But one of the number one issues we face at Desert Oasis is attendance. And our second thing that we face is attendance. And our third is attendance. You seeing a pattern there? And one of the things that outreach helps is our chronic absent students. It's a way to catch those students that can only come once a week. Their motivation is, I can go 1 day a week for 1 hour. And that's how an outreach program, because essentially what you're doing at Desert Oasis is that we kind of take what's over here and gets funneled over here. And while their numbers might go up with graduation rates, ours tend to go down with, with the ship. And so it's easy to see when one goes up, but where are they going? And some of it, not all of it. But one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of our attendance issues, an outreach program might help combat that. And from experience, if there's not someone coming to school every day, and we have a school that has some students that maybe come once every 2 weeks, that's wasting a seat for someone that should be in there that wants to come over from the high
So
school.
what's the facility need for an outreach program?
Couple rooms. It depends on what space we have. You can fit an outreach program in, it depends on how many teachers, and it depends on how big you want to get the outreach facility.
But it is a facility we're talking about. Is it a program or a facility? That's why I'm confused. I'm just trying to get.
I guess it's a
wrap around it.
program, because usually what I see them is linked with the alternative school, but they're separate teachers usually.
But it requires separate additional space. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
But usually you can have it like an office, and the student comes in and meets once a week with that teacher. And so basically every teacher, you have about 30 students a week that you see.
So is it almost like an independent study?
Correct.
Okay.
But one of the things that we face at both the high school and DOHS is chronic absent issues. And this isn't my district, by the way, this isn't my principal's view or anything on that. I've just taught at a lot of alternative schools, been to a lot of them, and I've never seen one without an outreach program. And when attendance issues come in there, it's one thing that I thought that this might be a way to help both sides kind of combat those students that choose not to come all the time. And it's a solution that maybe we can catch a few of them that are just checked out and not on the radar. So I felt it was of my utmost importance to put on the list. The next thing I thought for DOHS would be kitchen access. We have a kitchen there, but we're not really allowed to use it. And I think I know we're not an alternative school, but if that's the transition that we make or whatever, it would be a nice way to start trying to figure out a way to make money. And my hopes are that Desert Oasis can start funding businesses on campus. Most alternative schools I have, there's a way that's always being made money. If we have a cafe on campus, if we have a catering business that's on campus. Spokane Valley High School is a great one if you ever want to check it out. They have businesses all over there. They have a greenhouse, a cafeteria where the kids actually cook all the food themselves. We could do that at Desert Oasis if we had access to it and the right amount of staffing and FTE counts. But you probably won't get there if you don't have outreach programs.
Do you not have any school lunches there at all then, or do they bring lunches in?
They bring it in.
Oh.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed was an admin room. At Desert Oasis, you can kind of hear everything that goes on, right, Julian? So maybe a space where we can get some of the private matters that are talked about at hand, maybe a little safe, secure space. Some storage for janitorial usage. Shelving is mostly it. We have the space. I think we just need kind of more shelving and storage area for that. And that's all mine for Desert Oasis. So if anyone wants to talk on theirs to put up.
I'll talk. I put safety on every single one of them because I'm thinking from about 2 or 3 years ago, first facility meetings we have at McFarland, people started asking about safety, and then since then, we've had a lot of difficulty in the United States at different schools. So I just wanted to know what we're gonna do more for safety, to be assured that nothing happens in our school system to our little kids. And you guys are older kids too, I'm sorry, our young adults. So that's why I put that on everyone. I don't know that we're having it with our portables at the elementary schools. Some of them have second graders, some of them have sixth graders. We should be unity where we have all the same. And are second graders able to run to safety as a sixth grader? I don't know. I mean, I don't know who makes the decisions, if each school did that. But I don't think we're there yet for safety for our children.
At Desert Oasis, they just, luckily the district was kind enough to get us a buzzer door. And
Okay.
really, there's 3, 4, 5 doors in our main building, but they're all locked all the time except for the front door, and now that's locked all the time, and you gotta get buzzed in.
Okay. I mean, that's a good safety measure.
Yeah.
Right, that's awesome.
So we were lucky on that aspect. For DOHS, we're probably one of the more safer ones there because of the district doing that for
And I know
us.
we can't afford it. I know our police, we don't have enough police officers. But it would be nice to have them in the schools a little more often. So. Anyway, that's all I have to say, sorry. Next person.
Oh, me?
Oh, good, sister.
Well, I know you got some up there.
Yeah, which is, yeah, safety again. I know we agree on, or that safety doorbell that we have, which is a good sign. I agree on you for having policemen being there a little bit often. I don't know who put gym up. I agree on that. I agree on that though. Cause I put there a multi-purpose room, and our gym is just like, really, that's our multi-purpose room. We have an arts class there, a weights class there. What else do we have up there?
Cat food,
A
we eat there.
cafeteria, and that was my only thing about focusing right now. I don't know, but
How do you guys get your arts credits?
isn't that electives that we?
Yeah, we
Like
don't
for
offer a lot of.
Graduation, there's 2 arts credits required from, I think it's 10th grade.
The high school is kind enough to loan us an art teacher that comes over for 1 period a
Oh,
day.
okay.
And the art, and then I believe we steal our leadership from McFarland. So we have teachers that jump in.
Both are from McFarland that we know.
Oh, both are from, oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Last year we had a high school, I think.
Right.
Yeah, last
Wasn't
year we had a
Moody
high
from-
school.
Yeah, last year I think we had the high school. Either way, the schools always step up and give us, they're always nice enough to give us a teacher.
So you don't find it hard to get the arts credits that you need yet?
I mean, we put them in our computer lab, so it's not really like an art room, you know, with art supplies and stuff. It's kind of our, where we have staff meetings and, but we got that, and then we have the Spanish teacher comes over from the high school. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking, yeah, we have this.
Yeah, Raphael.
Raphael comes in, and he's pretty awesome. We're lucky that they gave us Raphael.
So you're gonna tally them and make a list, or what are we gonna do now?
Yeah. Was there anybody else that wants to say anything about Desert Oasis?
Maybe just in general,
Yeah.
overall. I guess I'm looking at totally different from the rest of you. I'm looking at numbers. I thought that's why we were here. It's interesting that when we went through that and the presentations were made, that the high school presented, they were needing 25 to cover the people that were coming up, the kids that were coming up, 25 classrooms. And looking at the projections over the past and coming 5 years, everyone's gonna hit the high school. This bubble will hit the high school. I don't know if we have time to do something at the high school in order to build something now. If they're gonna be there in the next 3 or 4 years, I don't know if we have time. But that's where I think we should concentrate. Where is the bubble hitting now? And what can we foresee, where is it gonna be? So it's either McFarland or the high school. I mean, those other things, hey, I agree, safety and all the things that, but we're looking at wherever the students need be in a classroom. And I put portables up there because if we can't come to anything else, we can always do portables. I'm not for portables, I'm against portables, believe me. But in the next 3 or 4 years, do we have time to build something? So I'm looking at it a little differently.
Yeah, and I also figured that really wasn't getting checks. I figured if I'm here, I might as well
No.
represent the school. And I feel the outreach can kind of help with that high school program. If you hire enough teachers in there, you can, 30 kids per teacher is what you're basically throwing out. So, it's a way to possibly combat that. I don't know how much, there's certain amount of kids that are on probation at the high school, and basically they're in line to go to DOHS. We were kind of seen as the punishment school for a while. And so it's like, you better get your stuff or you're going to DOHS. We can use that outreach program potentially to do that as well. And that way when kids come over, it's they want to come over, not that they have to come over. And then we face the mass dropouts and the 48% graduation rate that we're stuck with at DOHS, which puts us on probation.
Are your classes small?
Depends.
No, I mean.
Depends on what class.
Is there,
In
is
the
there
morning,
maximum amount of students that can be actually at the
In the morning, I have 18, but 4 show up. 5, 6. And then second period, it goes up to like 24, so it just depends.
That's terrible.
All right, so I just wanted to throw that out there just so DOHS was represented. We'll move on to the district. I'm not really worried about the tallies because judging by the checks, this isn't really gonna make it, so. So, districts, I put 3 of them up there. Cold storage, dry storage, and receiving dock zone. Due to that CEP, I felt that cold storage, when if you're gonna have a potential 100 more milks a day, that adds up, you think crates of milk. If you're gonna have 1,000 to 1,500 potential extra milks a week that you're gonna have to dump out, or not dump out, but store. Cold storage I thought was a vital one. Dry storage just for food, maybe like a central zone for all the schools. And the receiving dock zone, I thought would be potentially in the same building. You might be able to kill 3 birds with 1 stone in that case, and have just a central area for the district to receive goods and distribute them out. And that was just based off of a few people that have had meetings with me in the past few weeks and what I've heard. And so that's how I got my information, was just trying to go out there and listen, put my ear to the ground in the district. So those are my 3, if anybody else wants to go.
Mine is the K2 grant. So I understand, and I think they started it in 2015, that they applied for a grant, 2-point-some odd million. It's supposed to go for rooms for K-2 to keep the numbers down. And I'm not sure, was it 18 per room or 16 per room? And so I wanted to know, are we going to try to get our grant so we could add more rooms with that grant? Because we don't want to waste a 2-point-something million grant. So that would mean, so the next one's my other one is K6, K5. If we don't have the rooms, as the elementary schools are getting larger, the kindergartners are getting larger, and the first graders, how are we gonna deal with all of them? K6, K5, I don't know. So, that was my question, was about the grant. Are we gonna use it, or are we gonna lose it?
So, my understanding of the grant, and, I think Lisa's here to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's set out straight where if you build a kindergarten class, you can use the money. You have to show that whatever you're doing and building will reduce class sizes in that level. So you could build a separate structure that if you can show that it's going to reduce class sizes for those students, then that money can be used for that. So it doesn't have to be used just strictly for a classroom that's K through two
Oh,
or
okay.
K
K through two.
And
So
there
you can get
isn't-
kinda creative with it.
Okay.
And there isn't a specific timeline on it. It has, it was funded, the funding has not been pulled. You know, I'm sure there, at some point in time, they will say, well, are you gonna use this or not? But we're not feeling that imminence that we're concerned to lose the opportunity.
So we have that opportunity to use that to help expand the elementary schools K through two. Correct? I mean, that's what it's basically. So if we need more rooms, I mean, we need to figure out how to add space into each of the elementaries that are gonna be expanding and having more young kids.
I would imagine whatever priorities this committee comes back with and the board considers, then the funding aspect of that comes second, and, yeah, I would hope we'd use whatever money we can
Yeah. We wanna-
from the state. Yeah.
Was the matching funds, was that for 9 through 12, right? With that,
The
Yes.
matching fund.
9 through,
Yeah, for the unhoused students.
right.
We don't have any K through 8.
From the state,
State.
oh, yes, yeah, that's correct.
So we have to build something, we're gonna build anything, to get funds from the state, 9 through 12.
Yeah, that's the only funds we have available from the state
Right.
for building those. Correct, Dex?
There are, well, there are some draft capital budget items that will change some of the K-8, K-6, how it's funded, potential options, but it's always hard, the early drafts usually change dramatically when they start putting dollars to the changes in the plan.
So as of what we know today, all we have funding for is
Correct.
9 through 12 match.
Anybody else on district?
So what I added on the board isn't under district, but probably should be, is on the very bottom, new building. Just, I feel like all these things are great and whatever for each of the
Big one over
schools,
there.
but we're still gonna need a new building
It's over there on the
for
left.
growth.
Just look through that.
That big box thing.
Oh.
That one, that's the one. It's there, it's just not, it probably is district because it's the overall, we're gonna need a new building somewhere somehow.
Okay. Are you just making a general statement somewhere in the district?
It's a district thing, I'm saying our district is growing, we need a
You
building.
don't. Got it.
Needs
Yeah.
a place to house people.
Yeah, new building.
I think that's up there somewhere else too, under district,
Yeah,
right?
I think
Is
the
it?
expand to 1,300 at the high school would fit into that, right?
And then
6 and 12, yeah.
I was thinking there was another one up there too.
Additional school 500 to 700,
Yep.
additional parking, dual language K-8. So, I guess what we could do is tally that up. Anybody wanna change their check marks anywhere? In district?
If I could say something for the new building, on my list, I was going with the assumption that we would possibly maintain a K through 6 structure and eventually move the preschool out to its own facility, so that would alleviate room in the middle school. And also a lot of these different space issues at each of the elementary schools, if we could eventually have one more K through 6 facility, possibly at the Leaf property or whatever, but on mine, that kind of solved a lot of problems if we could have one more K through 6 facility, and then each of the buildings would have less pressure on all their space.
Maybe if they check out on mine, so I think K6, K5 is gotta be some within the mix.
So
That, somebody else put that.
Oh,
That's what I checked.
that wasn't yours?
No, I put mine, I wanted mine to be sooner. That would be
So you want me to put a check there on this one?
Yeah, for sooner. No, no, no,
No,
it's
sooner.
that
She
sooner.
wants the 1 to 5 years.
No, no. It was 1 to 5.
Just next to it.
No. All right.
I would add that in the 2019-2021 capital budget request, this is just draft, there is a proposed allocation of $200 million that would change the way K-6, how they fund those, and they wouldn't utilize a cohort survival for eligibility, so currently you don't have any K-8 eligibility to build new space. But under this new model, they would look at a host of other things, demographics, this, that, et cetera, and not your cohort survival for building new K-8 facilities geared around class size, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's their proposed solution where they tried the K-3 grant. Not a horribly successful strategy there, but still with the ideology of reducing class size, K-3, K-6. So, spring, by June, hopefully, if they follow track, then we would know whether that program was moving forward. And again, it increases the area cost allowance dramatically, $275 a square foot. And again, the eligibility isn't, they're calling it a prototypical model, but from a prototypical stance, it's more about forecasting for the future and the class size reduction and the funding, so it's completely dislocated from the current existing SCAP funding and eligibility.
Will make more sense. Does everyone understand the cohort survival? What are you talking about when they're predicting enrollment?
No.
That just basically, if you've got 200 kindergartners, history shows that by the time they're fifth graders, that class might be 210 or might be 190. So that's how they predict as you're
I
going
gotcha.
forward, how big your class sizes are gonna be.
And it's a model utilized to calculate your square foot eligibility. And they look 5 years out from the current enrollment. Usually by December, we'll have another projection from OSPI that'll give you an idea, 9/12, what your updated eligibility is from a cohort perspective. But again, this preliminary budget request would still utilize that model, but they seem to be moving towards priority number 2, so it's fairly high priority in the budget request. So some could be looked at as your planning and timing of your planning moves forward. And
But it had to do with eligibility for K-8 though?
K-6, I
Oh, it
believe,
was
is the
K6.
focus, but building elementary to, anyway, you can.
So it's kind of what
copy
Rob,
that, so you can read it just for, but again,
yeah, that'd be interesting. It's nothing set in stone yet. Kind of like what Roger was saying about the bubble. Right now, we have these students that we know are coming to the high school. So the state knows they're coming, so they give us eligibility to try to prepare for it a little bit. But then our numbers have dropped off now with the kindergarten classes coming in from what they were 4 years ago. So that's why we're not eligible for any more K through 8, because they're saying, well, your class size is getting smaller, why would we give you money for
Well,
that?
right.
and the general ideology is to allow districts to build future space before they need it, rather than reacting to it as, you know.
Then it's sometimes you can't catch
Yeah.
it, right?
Right.
So you'd actually be getting eligibility to build a new facility based on other factors other than just your enrollment and a 5-year forecast or a cohort survival.
Why don't you just read those off, Ryan, and how many votes are at each one, and then we can narrow this down a little bit.
Yeah, so we got K-6 and K-5 with 2. We got dual language K-8 with 2. We have art for all with 2. Those seem to be the highest in the district right now for checklist. And then in Hiawatha, our rankings are 7 for a gym cafeteria situation and 2 for safety issues. Anybody want to talk for Hiawatha?
Well, I can say that I put gym cafeteria on all the elementary schools, cause it seemed like that was a priority for all the principals, and I said, whatever that looks like for them, they need 2 spaces to make that work for them. However, whichever one of those things they need to build.
Even Wahidas?
Although Wahida's.
Oh, just what,
Has stuff.
oh, for some reason I didn't realize that. Then that's my bad, that's my fault. I thought it was across the board that they had said that.
didn't need it, they had
Oh,
Because
gotcha.
they have a separate gym and separate cafeteria.
Yeah, so,
Gotcha.
so whoever put the 3 votes there, you can change them, put them over somewhere else if you want.
It's my fault.
Where do you wanna put your vote?
Anybody?
Where do you wanna put your other one, for what, that you have in Wahidas? Nobody? 3, 2, 1, your vote's raised. Dictatorship. Nobody else
Or you could
for,
say,
Yeah.
you already made it happen, that fast, good job.
Yep.
You're amazing.
See,
Sylvia throws you, marker checks you. Alright, so Hiawatha, anybody else?
I'll talk about the art rooms because, so my daughter's a 6th grader and I also have a 1st grader coming up. And my concern is that, while I actually like the K-8 idea, the fact that they're not getting the same electives as they would have if they had come to the middle school because they don't have an art room, they don't have a certified art specialist, and you know, they're missing out on a lot, and it's really stressing those teachers out to try and teach a curriculum that they have no idea about, and it's really causing a lot of stress in a lot of areas, so, and it really does, it helps with things like attendance and, math scores, so, because I am a certified art teacher, so.
How's it stressing them out? We don't even have a
Huh?
K-8 yet.
What?
There is no K-8 right now. How is it stressing them out? I'm confused.
Because the 6th grade
graders?
teachers are teaching electives that they aren't certified to teach.
Okay.
So they're trying to teach a curriculum that they don't have a space to try, you know. I mean, Mrs. Adams, you know, is doing a great job at Scootney and, you know, she has a curriculum, but there's no, I mean, she's not gonna be able to do clay or paint in a library. You know, that's not, it's not fair to ask her to do that,
But
and,
if you had another gym,
you
doesn't
know.
that give you space to make something else in art room somewhere? Why do you
Right.
have to do both?
right.
So Gretchen, are you saying that it's more about having the space to offer those elective classes than the concept of K-8 itself? Or is it, do you think it's able to be offered within it?
Right, well, if you have a space for an art specialist, then you can hire an art specialist at each of the elementary schools. And all the elementary principals and teachers have all said that they would like to have an actual art specialist there. It would fit in, they have 4 different specials right now and a 5-day week. And so it would work with rotations, it would work, you know, plus it would give the added benefits of, you know, so many things.
In K-6, they do not have an art program,
No.
Right, no.
and are we asking to add that?
Well, I think, you know, if we're looking at having a world-class education for our students, at least having what we have now or had in the past, like last year, the 6th graders at the middle school had engineering, they had art, they had music, they had, you know, band and choir and all those things. And the problem is that next year, if the 7th graders come up to me at the middle school, I'm gonna have to teach them the 6th grade curriculum. So in a sense, we are going backwards. So when the kids are going up to the high school, they're going to be less prepared for high school
I
art
think
and
it's a good
college.
discussion. I just don't know if this committee's charged with that discussion.
No, but they need to have a
The art room
space.
I'm with, but
Right,
And if
if you're gonna go
Hiawatha,
back and tell the district they needed a different art program, I don't think that's what this committee's for.
Well, I don't think they can have an art program without an art room, is what she's
Right.
trying to say.
So the facility would be, in your remodel of whatever buildings you're at, one of these should be
art
an
space.
art room.
Right.
project
And
based.
once you
Because,
add an art room, then you're adding an art teacher, and now you're adding 5 new teachers.
4.
Well, 4.
Well, 5 of you
Not that
converting
I've
K-8 to
been
junior high.
counting
Alright.
for 12 years.
So,
Yeah.
Six, maybe.
if
Anyway,
Hiawatha,
yeah.
because there's nobody here from Hiawatha tonight, right? If you want, if anybody from Hiawatha wants to send me their votes in on here, or send me a list, feel free to send that, or if they're watching, hi. Ludakaga, you're up next.
Okay. Just like everyone else, some of the main concerns was gym and cafeteria because they're limited on time of use of the gym because you have to work around the lunch schedule. And the lunch schedule starts as early as 10:30 and it's not done till about 12:20. And so even if you wanted to give the sixth graders an additional PE class or an additional fitness or even use it for assemblies, you have to work around just the lunch schedule itself. And then you're splitting up different types of needs for different types of groups. Right now, they split up, a K2, and then like you have a 5-minute, 10-minute transition, and then you do 3-5 or 3-6 for the, award assemblies and things like that. But if you had a separate gym, sixth graders or someone else could still be at PE, doing PE, because when the gym's occupied, the PE teacher has to take the kids outside or stay in the teacher's classroom and do something within that space, because there's nowhere else to go. So that's kind of there, and then the safety part of the transition, right now Ludakaga goes from one end of the building to the opposite end of the building to transition from science class to social studies, or from social studies to mathematics, or from art to computer, for sixth graders. So they transition from opposite ends, so every once in a while they are currently running into the littler kids through the transition phase. They all have a room, and some of the rooms, and then that goes back down towards classrooms, because our ELL program and we currently have high cap there and SPED. Their rooms are not the normal size classroom that they had last year. We had to minimize them and put them in a smaller room so that the sixth graders would have a portable or someone else would have more room. So everyone kind of shifted. But it had been thrown out there that we would possibly move to the junior high because our school needs to have 4 teachers for everything because it's a dual language program. So you have to have 2 English and 2 Spanish. So moving to the junior high and leaving the preschool there would give us adequate space so that 4 teachers can work together versus if we stay where we're at, you're gonna have to do double portables because if you hire another math teacher or someone else, then you have to still have that partner teacher to teach them the same curriculum in the opposite language. So those are some of the concerns and then, so, do we move buildings, do we not move buildings? If you're leaving it at K6, it's kind of still able to make it work, but if you're gonna turn them all into K8, it's gonna be a harder transition just for Ludakaga because, some of the buildings you can leave 3 teachers for each grade, but we are gonna need 4 for all of them. So our space will have to have an additional wing or something. We have grass space to build on, it's just, how the funding works. I think our school has some of the most available space to add on to. I think that kind of covers. And the band area right now, it's barely fitting the 5th graders that we currently have. So if you're gonna add 6th and 7th and 8th grade in the future, it's going to be too small. And it's not soundproof enough to where the SPED teacher that is right next to the band, she can hear them practicing for the Christmas concert. Or when you're going down the hall or through the cafeteria, you can hear it all. And we're an open space, so we're not, secluded or we don't have any sheltered in, so part of the safety. Our doors are always locked, however, when kids have to go to the office because parents are here to pick them up, they walk out through the open space from the far end of the 4th grade wing all the way down to the office. So those are kind of the things that are.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wants to talk on Ludakaga? All right, Scootney, you're up.
So the first one, the gym and cafeteria, same as Kimberly was talking about. Our PE has to shut down during lunchtime as well as not shut down first thing in the morning, but our breakfast is also in there. So we have as many people as we can in there trying to get it cleaned up and tables put away and the floor cleaned up before PE can start. So it still is a little bit, it's a crunch and
It's a mess.
it's a mess, yeah, it is.
Chicago is a mess.
And so, that and we're down to no transition times with our specials because of the way we have to configure that
For the sixth grade.
and, for everybody. And so it's very much needed. And I understand like the bubble and things are going up, but this is one of those places that right now, we don't have, it's impeding instructional time, it's impeding a lot of different things. Safety as well. Kimberly talked about, walking in from the portables or people just coming in now. Multi-purpose space, and that could be another gym space. We could use that a couple different ways. That would be nice to have the maker space kind of on its own, or be able to use it for art or those types of things. We did Hiawatha today. I went and heard some of their sixth grade kids did a PBL unit and then presented to some of the community. So the mayor and I were able to go and hear. Well, we went over to the Senior Citizen Center because they didn't have a space at their own building where we could do that, where we could sit and talk to the kids and listen. So that multi-purpose space would be used. That would be one of those things that would be used for that. Office space, some of us are in closets. Instructional space, some more classrooms. So that was kind of, that's what I was thinking.
All right, anything else on Scooby?
I already spoke about them all, so I'm good.
No worries, I just wanna get everybody a chance to let it out if you got it. Alright, Wahidas.
So probably our biggest concern is we have 4 grades at every grade, 4 classes at every grade level until 5th grade. So next year we'll add another 6th grade class. So then it'll bump up our numbers.
One
And
for
we
each fifth and sixth.
So 5th grade has 4 and 6th grade has 3 right now. So then next year it'll be 4. So that will either displace resource room or we just need another classroom is basically what we're saying. And going along with that is our maker space or design lab. Our computer lab teachers teaching a design thinking, and our library's teaching a maker space. Like if we had a designated like multi-purpose area that had the capability of that, because right now our storage is like we're tucking all that stuff somewhere else. Office space. Our principal's in a conference room right now. Safety, we're pretty secure. We're a closed campus, so that's nice, except our portables. Maybe closing off our office area would be easier, but that's kind of it.
Anybody else? Okay, response complaints. McFarland.
Okay, well, I didn't write safety,
Huh?
but safety, obviously, we need McFarland. Classrooms, the portables, I don't know about if anybody's actually ever, but I encourage you that when we do start to get ice and snow, try going out to the portables, and I'm sure at the elementary schools it's even worse with the little ones, but, that was one of the reasons why they put the preschool in the classrooms, because, it's, it starts to get really hairy out there, so, anyway, so adding classrooms, and not having portables. I don't know how that transition from if Ludokaga moves over and that kind of thing. And let's see, the Maker's Steam space, they don't really need it too much as far as, although it depends on what happens. But the Maker Steam space, I know that we're doing a lot with STEAM this year, and, the teachers are kind of floored at, what kind of space that stuff takes, so if you wanna come see what kind of space stuff takes, come on in my room. There's lots of sculptures and, cardboard things and paintings and, and you just need a lot of space, so.
However, the engineering room did just move to the old wrestling room, so it has a really nice, perfect space
Right,
now.
right.
With the vent for the machine, great 3D
Yeah.
printer.
Yeah, so that's good.
That is good.
Yeah, but I know that some of the other teachers want to do that kind of stuff too, and it's really hard in a regular classroom.
Oh, yeah, aside from the fact that we don't, that it can use a resting room for more than like 1 year before it had to become a classroom, right?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
it
they
wasn't
ever
ever
used
really
it.
a resting room, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
It was 1 year,
Yeah.
Was it?
then they converted it to a computer lab, I think,
Yeah.
Two,
Yeah. With a wall.
yeah.
So do we need a wrestling room? That's what I'm hearing.
Well, right now.
No. What we need is room.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the engineering, we used to have two little tiny classrooms kind of in the middle of the building with no vent. Anyway, that was an improvement, we moved to a good room.
With the portables, this is just a question, do we own the portables?
Some of them.
Some, and we rent the rest?
Yeah.
With the option to give them back?
I guess we don't have a choice to give it back, we have an option to re-rent them.
Oh. I mean, how much is a cost to rent a portable, is that?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
I'll rent a center.
$300,000 for a room?
No,
Oh, for,
For two room.
portable units themselves.
We paid
70,000
300,000
a year.
over 3 years
Yeah,
for the Wahidas
75,000
portables.
a year.
For all.
For all four,
For
Tony?
all 3 years for both.
For all 4 classrooms, so 100,000, 25,000 a year per classroom, then is what that comes out to for Wahidas, right? We get 3 or 4 there?
2, 4 classrooms.
There's 4
Double.
portables.
Yeah, they're doubles.
So do they maintain them then, if we rent them?
There might be a warranty for craftsmanship, but not if we, not for wear and tear we do.
We're in-
Well, and then those portables don't have a lot of storage either.
No.
So
Oh, no.
when you're trying to teach science or art or
It's underneath the
anything
skirting.
else, you know, you're barely limited to seating, your desk barely even fit in there, and then you don't have any cubbies for like those older, you know, kids that need cubbies, and then you don't have any of that space. It's like, can I borrow your desk? I'm gonna set my science kit here for a minute while I take it from under my desk or whatever. So there's very
Not
small.
optimal.
Yeah.
Anything else? Alright, let's move on to the heavy hitter here tonight. We got OHS, which seems to pretty much lead in all the votes, so. Chat away, guys.
All right, well, I'll
Oh.
start, because I started, since that's where I work. So, 600 and 200, those buildings are old, leaking, you know. Yeah. Teachers will probably volunteer to help demolition them if you want, like. It's, so 600 and 200, the 200 building has 2 science classrooms. Those 2 science classrooms are the ones that are set up to do chemistry. So they will have to be replaced with 2 classes equipped to do chemistry. But they are old
they're old buildings.
buildings,
Just
yeah.
to be clear, that was part of the 98 remodel with the rest of the buildings, that 200 wing.
Yeah,
So it's just as old as the rest of the buildings. It's not as old as the 600 wing.
it's not as old as 600, right.
Remodel in 98, same as the 300, the senior hall. So,
Okay,
I mean, I know it looks old. It gets used hard,
yeah, it does,
but it's only 20 years old.
okay. We need some kind of performing arts auditorium. We have no place for performing arts. So the school play happens at McFarland. We can't even put on a school play on our campus. So auditorium's a thing. What was the next thing?
We have, the expand to 1,300 capacity.
That one wasn't me, I'm not
It's the
sure.
same vein as
Yeah.
replacing some of the buildings, we just need to get more
Right.
space.
So then the next one is admin and counseling space.
Right, currently the school psych is shoved in a closet between the staff room and the copy machine. It's not ideal. So we need counseling space. We have kids with issues who need privacy and confidentiality in order to access services that they need. So that's
you there.
that's a genuine thing. Husky Court, that's so there's like a giant pit that's falling apart. And there's like naked rebar and broken bricks in it. I feel like this would be like a low budget item that we could fix soon. So I stuck it on.
Husky right either, so I mean.
It's in the bylaws that we spell husky wrong, so. Secure the campus was, you can wander onto campus from anywhere and get into any building from any direction. there is no possible way of securing our campus for campus safety.
Build
It's
a
a
large
safety
wall,
net.
if you get that wall that Trump is building, it'd be 4,000.
Really?
Just expand it.
Yeah.
Right, expand it to be around.
Expand it to be
One of the
around
best
the
walls you've
UHF.
ever seen.
It'll be fantastic. Yeah, so, but as a teacher,
Make the farmers
like,
happy.
I'm concerned about my students' safety. I want them to be safe. That matters to me. Expand gym and corridor. We can't, our student body is currently so large, we cannot have everyone sit in the gym for an assembly. Now happily, there's a bunch of flunkies who skip, and we put everybody else and sit them on the floor. But we're crammed. We're really crammed in there. So the corridor, you can barely walk across the corridor at a mealtime or before or after school. We
Barely
have,
walk through the hallways when they're changing classes.
yes. So expanded gym and corridor, I'm not saying that's a right away thing, but we are pretty crowded. So those were the priorities I put up there. And somebody else put remodel certain areas.
I did that. I just think that there's a lot of wasted space. I mean, you have an auxiliary gym that's pretty well useless. You have a wrestling room that is inadequate. You have locker rooms that are awful. When you bring in 3 boys teams and 3 girls teams in a basketball contest, you got girls changing and then boys changing and then it's a nightmare. And you talk about the gym, it doesn't house the student body.
It doesn't.
And I'm saying if you're gonna spend money, first of all, if you're gonna spend money, and I don't think we have enough money to build a new high school.
Right, I don't think we
Right,
need it.
so my thing was, and they're all across the board cafeterias. That at the high school, you take the auxiliary gym and convert it into something, a wrestling room, 4 classrooms. I mean, it'd be awful. When they did the remodel at the junior high, they took the junior high gym and put walls up for classrooms. Try and teach them that. It was a joke.
The only thing it was nice for is I could hang something.
The only thing nice about it was you could probably hang one of your kids from the ceiling.
I mean, when you're saying housing the student body, but for assemblies, wouldn't an auditorium take care of that?
If it housed
If it-
1,300 kids.
Yeah,
If,
yeah.
which is kind of,
And a typical auditorium, what, 1,000 people?
It would, 1,000, 1,200, it wouldn't house these, it
It would have
wouldn't
to be a
house
very
the,
large
uh,
auditorium.
Teachers too, it's not just the
Right.
students.
Yeah,
Well, and
there's
it's
teachers
teachers and
as
it's
well, too.
staff, and I'm not sure we could have Husky Olympics in a auditorium.
no.
Just hands down the funnest assembly of the year, for sure. It's the best thing of the year, yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised we
think
don't
that you
die
could
from it, but it's
remodel-
awesome.
I would propose that if we're gonna, to propose would be build a new competition gym at the high school that would house 2,500. Take the other areas and remodel them. Take the auxiliary gym and make it a wrestling room, take the wrestling room that boards right up against the locker room. You can convert those into locker rooms. Take your portables, which, you have some portables,
Well,
which came a
3
long
or
time
4,
ago.
yeah, 3 or 4.
There's some that are awful. And spend some money on building some classrooms. You know, I mean, if you're gonna remodel that 600 wing, you may as well gut it
Oh, yeah.
and start over. I mean, with that space. I don't know.
There was also one that said add portables there.
That was mine. If we can't come to anything else, we need classrooms.
Yeah, we did.
All right, and last but not least, pre-K.
She's not here.
So
Well-
she's not here, but I said, I think long-term, maybe not right away, but long-term, we need to talk about having a dedicated pre-K campus where all of our early childhood intervention stuff can be in the same location. That seems to make long-range sense. I realize that's a massive expense. It isn't like gonna happen next week. But I said long-range, 5 to 10 years down the road. I think that would make much more sense. And it would mean that our other facilities aren't also trying to house pre-K.
But it could open up potential space for another school, because it's the middle school that's housing it right now?
Yeah,
So then it could give some space to the middle school.
right.
What if money wasn't an issue? Would it still be your higher, or a long-term priority?
If money was no issue for the pre-K? I think it really is. I think early intervention works.
The reason I ask, I think that there's a lot of unknowns financially on
Right.
these, right?
Yeah,
First you come up with the priorities, and then when you start talking about the monies, then you might, priorities could shift potentially, but.
right. I mean, yeah, priorities can shift, but if money's no object, I think early intervention works. I think it's really good when you're talking about having kids who are actually kindergarten ready going into the elementary schools. All of those things, you can have occupational therapy, special ed, all those things in one place so people are accessing services. I
If
think-
they're ready.
Well, I think, but I think that means that kids are more likely to be ready for kindergarten.
If
And-
all the parents aren't just using it as a daycare and we have staff for it and
Right, no, but we
Yeah.
said if money's no object, then,
if money is no
But even
object,
if
we'd
they
have
use
the
it-
teachers, right? And
Yeah.
then we would have the space and then it would work.
But even if
Maybe.
parents use it as a daycare, they're still learning while they're there, so it doesn't matter
If
why.
there's
they
enough
kids-
staff.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
But I think our primary focus is trying to figure out, are you gonna leave everything K-6 and leave 7-8 where they're at? Or you're gonna find portables, or however you're gonna try to look through the funding to make it a K-7? And then, there's all these transitions that are putting at a slower rate than we had expected originally, but the question is still, like, 6th grade, is it going to, are they staying, are you moving them or not? Like, they keep asking, hey, teacher, are we staying here for 7th grade, or are we going to the junior high? Like, those are the questions that they're interested in as students, and prioritizing this will help us figure out, yes, I get pre-K is important, but they're okay where they're at right now, so they're not, like,
Well, they're happy. They're happier.
they're stable, because they're stable, because there were some at SCUNY, there were some at Ludokaga, and there were some in the portables, and there were some in that building. So they were all over the place, it just depended, now they're all in one secure location. And, it makes the transition easier, but it doesn't mean that that's where they're going to stay, because if we're going K-8, that might mean that maybe this year no one's moving and you're adding portables, but then next year you're gonna move people around. So shifting's gonna happen for a couple of years until you really get the vision out there. The problem is just knowing what's the plan and figuring out what we need to prioritize.
Does the board want us to figure out this K-8
I don't think so.
plan?
Just the priorities.
Just the priorities, right?
Well, I think
I thought
That's-
we were supposed to go forward like it was K-8, cause that was the vision. That was how I understood it.
That was a
Purpose
blurry
of the
vision.
not really what I've been
To
told.
determine priorities based on the instructional vision.
For 5 years, right?
5 years and then if that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, more immediate priorities, and then priorities that could be up to 5 years, and then which ones can wait. Yeah, that was the purpose. So the decision for our configuration is ultimately up to the superintendent. I mean, I guess ultimately up to the board, but the superintendent drives that vision and what he wants to do with that, so.
So I think what we have here is about 65 different things that we came up with tonight. And the idea is, how do we condense this into a point where we're not putting a ton of workload, because I don't want someone to have to price out 65 different things on us, so that's not fun.
Depends on where you go with that, Ryan, like, to me, like OHS, you're counting 4 or 5 different things that are the same thing in my mind.
Okay.
It's semantics, all that stuff has to do with
Yeah,
what model
I
in
think
the
we
high
should
school. To
define.
me, it's semantics as to
This-
whether you tear down the 600 wing, or you make it, or you tear down the auxiliary jammer, make it a resting room. All of that, to me, says we need to create more space at the high school.
Okay.
So that, to me, there's like 4 different things up there that are saying the same thing in a different way.
Can someone help me then, with this, potentially condense this condense each one of these down, so the next meeting we can have a price tag basically for each one of these schools, based off the top, few, obviously the high school, we have quite a few of the top priority. So the one with the most votes will have like kind of a top 10 list. I'll have every single thing that was put on here tonight, regardless of how many votes it got, I'll have it on our list. But then we kinda need like our heavy hitters. So I was thinking about 20 of them, that I'll go through here and figure out which I'd kind of the top 20 if we can condense it, or ideas, or being able to say that there's 3 things and that's all one. Condense this down, get a price tag on them. Next meeting we come up, we go, okay, that's what the price is, where does it fit on our priority now? And we can kind of basically make another top 10, top 20.
Ryan, were we supposed to put a price tag? I didn't think.
No.
No.
Oh,
This was merely just if money was not an obstacle,
Oh.
you know. If you just had all the money, we won the lotto and.
So, I have a question. So, if I remember right from like the Brawlin presentation last year that I went to at a staff meeting, there was a plan for remodeling the high school included in that bond presentation. Does that have numbers attached to it, like amounts, how
There
much
are a
that would
decent
cost to
amount.
do that kind of remodel?
I believe it's in the first agenda
Yep.
for the very first meeting.
Okay,
There's a lot of these that already have price tags based off that first agenda.
Okay.
And I have the papers right there in my folder right there with all those numbers.
They are old numbers.
They are old
Okay.
they are old numbers though, and Dax, you had said that it'll go up higher than what it is previously, and so it was more
So-
of a,
They can go down this year.
if it was 275, it's like more like 375 per square foot, correct? On a lot of them?
so,
Possibly
so
up
if I
to
looked
4.
at it and I added 15% or 25% or more.
Yeah.
So I just see gym, remodel high school, like those
I-
should be the,
Uh,
Top two.
That's what it is.
Safety thrown in.
oh, and safety, obviously,
Yes.
yes.
So my hardest thing looking at all of this is the fact that the priorities change dramatically when you have K through 6 versus K through 8. So there has to be 2 options, which we were told we can have more than one option in our plans. I think we have to have 2 options where nobody here can make that decision on whether we're K through 6 or K through 8. We have to give 2 plans.
Okay, so would the
So we have to
committee like to have like 2 different areas, and then the next meeting we prioritize what goes on to each plan in that way
Yes.
then?
That would just be the other.
That, would
You
that
have
be?
one option K6, one option K8.
Yeah, can we,
And-
so,
And is it my understanding that whether it's K6 or K8, you're still gonna have to have a food area?
Yes,
Yeah,
just
so
like
you're-
gym,
so-
boom.
So when, you
keep
can,
in mind, you're gonna have to have a place to store it. If we learned anything from history, an army marches on its stomach.
well, and that's true too, but you don't necessarily have to store it at the building,
No, and that's
It
what I
would
was
be
saying,
nice.
is the district status.
right? I mean, that's a district problem where, what do they use the old bus garage for?
Food storage.
Storage? Food storage. They filled that whole bus garage with refrigerators?
No,
No, it's mostly dry goods.
dry goods. There's
Okay.
some refrigerated vans.
There's
at
some-
the transportation center.
They have a refrigerator van out there in the back, so.
And we'll have that hopefully on the next
That-
meeting.
I have a question.
Yeah,
So that meeting where, I'm sorry.
Go on.
That meeting where we had, all those numbers for where the company went in and did
Mhm.
all the,
Yeah.
didn't they give us numbers for
They-
some of this stuff?
they gave us numbers, but they're not fully accurate right now.
Oh,
Those were
okay.
numbers based back, so they're gonna be a little bit more than what the numbers projected are
Okay.
there. So yeah, it's a ballpark of what it was at the time when they did it.
Okay,
I
I guess I thought that they did it much more recently then.
Alright, there we go.
I think Dax could probably answer it.
Yeah, I just,
If I'm not doing, if
things
I'm
are
not.
changing pretty quickly and the escalation factors are changing daily with a lot of the independent cost estimators that we work with and the work we do, so. Just reviewing the Peter Crocker numbers, they do it kind of in a bubble, they're looking at pieces, but sometimes it can, And that really isn't, you know, they give you a ballpark, but they're all, most of the numbers are low. Some of them aren't, but most of them are low. And when you're looking at total project cost versus individual construction cost, so if it became necessary, I could, or as a component of the option, or what are viable options, you know? I know that that's not the direction really, is to identify the need. But if you're gonna put dollars to it, is that to modulate the scope? We talk about quantifying and putting dollars to it. So if you're coming up with two options, let's say you're doing an addition at the high school, the previous bond was about 91,000 square feet. We talked about 54 of that was now eligible, which would kind of be the optimal target. But as you develop those options, what's the intent of the number? Just to, is it to determine viable option 1, 2 that you're gonna provide, or are you just presenting scope?
Ryan brought it up, right, so that would be, what was your intent, Ryan?
It's what your guys' intent is what, I mean, to be honest, it's hard for me to really know what are solid, I mean, I get that there's a definition of it, but at first when I started this thing, I thought I was doing a bond, and I thought I was going there. I'm just trying to build a plane while I'm flying it right now. And I've asked the committee for some help, I haven't got much. Talia's helped me a bunch, but I mean, other than that, I'm kind of just going, what am I supposed to do and how am I supposed to do it? I really don't know, guys. I'm going
Well, I
to
think
school,
you got enough
I'm teaching.
information up there.
I don't know. Yeah, I figure what we could do is,
Do we want to do that tonight?
huh?
Do that tonight, condense it?
Yeah, we can condense this right now if you guys want.
You can dance it already, cafeterias and.
3 cafeterias.
3
I mean, that's-
cafeterias in a high school, all-
Yep.
I mean, that's
Basically.
basically, you've already condensed it.
For most of them. Yes, that would be another.
And safety.
And safety.
Safety program, yeah.
You got cafeterias, gyms, classrooms, safety.
Perfect.
It's 4 items.
There you go, condensed.
I just took a look at the numbers for the proposed remodel of the high school that we had in the last bond, and it was roughly $42 million.
For a what?
Huh?
Is that
Remodeled high school.
That was the total.
total, so the local was
12.
It was something like 8 or 9 less, although I think we're now eligible for a little bit more matching funds than we were then. But
That was
we'll see.
also for a 1,500 student high school, if you want.
Okay, I
think
wasn't
The
sure.
proposal up there was 1,300. for
Right,
what it's
so it
worth.
would be, so it might, so if we were gonna say it was like maybe 50 instead of 55, or I don't know. Cause I'm trying to remember the details of that, but it was a while
The
ago,
board,
what that.
board members, how can we make this list the most useful for you? Is I guess what we need to know as a committee is how do we make this useful for you guys to make the decisions you have to make? How would you like me to structure that so we can communicate it effectively?
Could we,
You go first, Tony.
Create your top 20 list and then figure out a couple different ways to do it. A high option, a low option, whatever, cost-wise, but, and a timeline.
Should we do K8, K6, and those are our two options?
You prioritize the immediate needs, the future needs, right? So up there, look, I'm just, from what I'm hearing, the immediate needs are,
They're all immediate.
They're all
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's pretty
Yeah.
much.
but prioritized was the high school and
Yeah.
gyms at all the other schools and some classrooms, right?
Cognizance, it's got a lot of notes.
Yeah.
But if you go K8, the priority to actually add on classrooms
would change.
higher.
Because if you leave it
Versus-
K, if you leave
That-
it
that-
K6, you don't need that
that's
many
not
classrooms
gonna-
right
Okay,
now.
first, I just want
I
to.
guess I somewhat disagree with what you're saying there, because there's the same amount of kids no matter where they're at.
Yeah, why would you need more classrooms?
Yeah.
Confused there.
So,
Unless
Well, I think we
the
need-
You're
middle
gonna need more
school, I
teachers.
guess.
Yeah. If you're leaving it K6, you're kind of surviving, but if you're gonna go K8, then you need those portables or classrooms to accommodate to the ones that are going to be coming.
I
in.
guess, I don't
Well, remember,
know,
if you
there's
go-
maybe more
We
ones
need
filtering
right now.
over
You
the
can go
middle
to
school.
K,
We
so
need
you
more
gain
classrooms
another
right now, is
elementary
what we're
school.
saying, so
Right.
the same
You
number.
no longer
Right.
have
Just kids would be moving.
So just kidding.
Two different spaces.
Well, but then you
Same
have
amount of students.
specialized
But there was nowhere for
spots,
them
like
to
labs and.
That's a
Like,
difference.
where, if you leave it,
Yeah.
if you leave
That
it K
part,
six, it's
yeah.
fine, but if you go K eight, where are you gonna put those seventh graders
We
at?
could leave
So
it
even
at
even if we
Takes
have the
out
K-6 and even if we have the
K
K-8 program, what we still gotta realize is that we have a giant high school thing that is taking
Right.
up a lot that we also have to address. So both of them, we're gonna have to,
So I have to kind
Yeah.
of pause everything.
yeah.
We have a special board meeting tonight, we just need to start it, and it's an executive session, and we'll leave for executive session. So we just need to start it when the board's here, so I just,
Okay,
which I
so
don't know
as
whether
soon as the board
is.
comes, we gotta leave.
You guys will have to leave, because
We're gonna
our
leave.
executive session can go into a different room. We just need to start it out here.
We got a
because this is
closet
where
for
we
you,
advertise.
you can go into a closet until we get a remodel.
Right next to the coffee.
We got a portable for you.
We have a portable for you with no
It's in
bathroom.
the
Oh,
counseling
yeah.
office of the high school.
Dry portable.
And the lights don't work very
You like a
well.
full storage room?
Can I ask a
All right.
question?
There's full
Go ahead.
chairs.
So when you're talking about the K-8 model going from a K-6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
current existing grade structure to a K-8, is the Teeter Crocker model been reviewed by the group and find that that is the need to convert to the K-8 system? Is that the basis of it? Because when you start to model the scope and the need of those two options, what do you have to determine a K-8 model transition other than that report?
So it sounds like we need to have a K and a K-6, basically.
Potentially, if that's the recommendation.
Alright, so as a committee, then what we can do is, we got our priorities, we'll get that top 20 list. Then I guess the next meeting is, we figure out the money of this whole thing, and we try to throw it in. We can use those 20 to add into that program, does that make sense? So if we divide this K-6 and K-8, we can put down our top 20 here and our top 20 here with price tags, does that make sense? Yes.
So for the K through 8, something that's not on there is like changing rooms for each of those schools. I have no idea what that price is. I thought it was
You'd have
discussed.
to take into consideration like
Right,
turning
that's what
classrooms in the
changes.
junior high to house kids that are smaller, and then all the middle schools housing kids that are older.
So, tell me with the junior high, what you have to do for the smaller kids.
It's just the
Lower the urinal, Rob.
No, that's just.
No, it's the
furniture
furniture
around.
Swap them?
Yeah.
Like their furniture would come to our school?
Step schools?
Yeah. Exactly, it would just be moving.
But I don't think we have to stay within a budget, we just have to say this is what we want.
Yeah.
All is relative.
Kindergarten
So,
is
we don't have to stay
Just
within
so you
a
know.
budget, we just have to give our top 5 or whatever.
Yeah, we're gonna build 2 lists, so is that good for the next,
What
yes?
happens if the kids
So
downstairs are on
Teeter
the
Cocker
school
said that the
walking
new
fast?
gyms would cost about 1.25 million apiece.
Yeah.
For what?
A new gym
For a new gym
at an elementary school.
at an elementary?
So that was about 1.25 million each.
So we can present that, like, we don't have
Right.
a budget, but we
No,
can
no, no, but
present
we
that
could
and just
say
say,
that,
this is what.
Like, these are,
Yeah.
we think we need a new
Right.
gym and or cafeteria
But that would be.
at
you're-
these 3 schools.
But you're taking the old gym and converting that into an eating area.
Right.
I would
Well, we already have,
Which it already is.
I assume, a cafeteria gym.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah, so.
So
it
it
would
would
become
be-
an only
It would be
cafeteria.
only
Yes.
cafeteria.
Hold on
Yeah.
just a second.
Just so you delineated here,
You can eat.
I would go back and, as you were going through each of the schools, I was kind of thumbing through the Teeter Crocker report.
Uh-huh.
And some of the items identified or scope identified for K-8 facility mirrored that in concept, or maybe the labeling was a little different, but even though the Teeter Crocker report was geared towards shifting to a K-8 modeling, a lot of the components in there aren't specific to that, meaning they're need-based.
Yeah.
Right.
So there was a lot of work that went into that, you can see it, so it would be worth the time to go back through that one more time and potentially at least put them on the list, some of the items that have maybe been overlooked.
Yeah, that's why also on the next meeting, we'll have a few other people that are gonna be able to come in and.
Right.
Yeah.
Just pause it for a minute, we'll open the meeting and we'll head into executive session. board can come over and have a seat.
Everybody, if we
It's
can have a
not-
moment
this
of
meeting's
silence.
not a video anyway. Sorry, it's a little clumsy, but we want you guys to continue the discussion and finish the meeting as needed.
So see here in Peter Crocker, that's what the new gym would cost.
Yes.
But I'm assuming it's gonna be roughly about the same as I mean, anyway.
Why not at the beginning of the agenda next time? Take this list and compare it to this one and see what's the same.
That's actually, no, that's exactly what I was just, that's what we were just looking at, I'm going,
Right, because I was just looking at that thing right
Yeah.
there. The thing
So-
from Peter Crocker,
if you can,
because it tells us,
It is Monday, November 19th. 7:37 PM. We will, we're starting a special board meeting, just to call to order, we'll have a flag salute to open our meeting.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda is item B1, executive session. The board will go into executive session to consider selection of a site for the acquisition of real estate by lease or purchase. The executive session will last 30 minutes, and there will be no action taken afterwards. With that, we will recess.
Hey,
Carry on.
on this document here,
uh-huh.
when you had all those, this not to be cruel, I would bag all your district office needs.
Yeah, I think the food service might be one though that
Okay,
once they do a presentation, they might.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna completely, I'll let the committee go with it.
If you guys finish before I do, let me know so I can come and go check on it.
Okay. I can, if you show me how to do it real quick.
But, like, so the food storage part might be,
Part of that.
Necessary.
That's a district need, yeah.
yeah, that might be necessary.
Are we doing this now, or are we gonna kind of?
Yeah, well, we can condense this. You guys just wanna try to,
I think
Yes.
regardless K
If I-
six or K eight,
Yes.
it's gym and safety for both.
Yeah, gym and safety,
For
I
both-
think
on
you're
all
right.
three of those.
And class.
And classrooms / portables.
I guess the other idea is where is the key there too.
Which schools?
Yeah,
You would have to do all the
All the
elementaries.
elementaries.
well.
Well, not
Except,
gym
with
and
the
cafeteria.
exception of Wahida's needing an extra gym, but all other 3 elementaries will need a gym, and they would need extra portables. They would still need portables too, so the only thing that's different is that Wahida's doesn't need an extra gym.
It
They
would
already
just be
have two.
classrooms.
Yeah.
They
Well,
would
it's
just need
not
a
a classroom.
classroom and then the safe,
We're in the
even if they're safety, because they're already sheltered in.
Our little portables at Scootney, the things have all broken down this last few weeks, the railings,
Yeah, I'm
correct?
sure there's.
Yes.
What? We've had to have remodeling on our little portables at Scootney because the railings have been breaking down.
Right.
Yes.
Some of them
Yes,
are
so they're really
awful at
old.
some of the schools.
It's because they're
But those are like the top very.
Yeah, that's, the overall is gym.
No, they're not.
But we also,
Some of them are new.
because
some
in
of
terms
them
of
are
voting in
really
our,
old.
of our group, we have a lot with 4, 5, 3, 3.
So do we wanna condense those ones like Mr. Ashton over here said, like the
Yeah.
Do the high school.
replace,
Do the high school.
like the high school part? Like
Okay.
a lot of those
It's
are
more
come out, like remodeling or whatever?
Yep.
Just put remodel and there's like 4 of those that can go underneath of it.
Okay.
Like the Husky court, the Spana gym,
There you go.
600 and the 200.
All of
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all remodel. You know what I mean? And that's 10, 8, 5, like that's 23 votes. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. And
Alright, we'll go pre-K first.
I would get from the district
Pre-K
office
looks like
what they
there's a
presented
decent amount
last year
for
is.
wanting a dedicated campus.
But I think if we
And
look,
safety
I
is
think
just
what we've
like
said is, if, when you look at kind of the bigger ones there, gym and the cafeteria have come up a lot, and then safety and the high school, those are kind of the 3 big ones. So are you thinking going school by school, or kind of looking at it globally?
I would say global.
Overall, we're gonna give them the list of our big guys, our big hits. But then I figured what would be nice is that if they decide that they have money for, let's say, they found something just for elementary schools, we have a list that goes, well, okay, here's our heavy hitters for this. If that makes sense. So we'll have our top 10 list, which will be the gyms and the safety.
And they're actually in a meeting right now for a real estate something, so we don't know if we're gonna need. We don't know what they're gonna buy.
We might buy another church, I have another one of them.
There's plenty of things to buy, and
Or
that's.
CBHA. That's what I
So
thought.
pre-K,
14th Avenue.
it looks like,
Preschool.
that means another remodel then.
Yeah, you
Why not, we'll remodel the whole world.
They would be foolish to buy that building,
You
wouldn't they?
okay, Pete, come on, it's a
14th
double.
Avenue?
14th Avenue?
14th Avenue?
14th Avenue.
Oh,
they could
14th
use as
Avenue.
preschool.
14th would
Alright,
be
Jess,
easy to.
so how do we wanna condense?
14th Avenue would be.
How do we wanna condense OHS?
Do you put remodel and then add on, or?
14th Avenue's not for sale?
I just keeping it? Yeah, I just put remodel 600 to 154 and then.
How do you know it's not for sale?
So remodel and then addition,
Yeah.
right? Add classrooms and auditorium.
Oh.
So those are our two big ones.
Okay.
Remodel,
Yeah, they're gonna convert it into like an Avalon.
And so last year they had a plan for a high school remodel.
That's what the remodel is for, according to.
I will
the
get,
list.
And then now
I
the
will get
addition
figures
part.
from
Oh,
that
that's
plan.
what that's for, so.
Yes.
Alright,
That'd be
so
part of the
remodel, I have
In
two
parentheses.
that's going.
And-
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Just put and
ideas.
24.
Yeah, but, yes, you,
Yeah.
yeah. you get an idea.
And then right below that,
Yeah.
put addition.
They said it could only be there. for
Addition?
Addition.
Of what?
Right.
Auditorium and.
Right.
Competitive gym.
Classrooms.
And classrooms, yeah.
Where's the competitive gym? on
How many
that?
classrooms?
What does it say?
Right.
Addition,
Temporarily for one.
Right.
Auditorium.
Auditorium, gym, classroom.
Uh-huh.
Or what did you call it?
competitive.
Competitive gym.
Right,
No, next to addition, you gotta keep auditorium, gym, and
right,
classroom.
yes.
I wanna go.
Yeah, and I think at least the 600 building is crappy enough, the state will pay for us to rip it down and replace it.
That's my home.
I think it would be good if we establish how many rooms for the high school.
Yeah.
They
Then
said
maybe we want-
25
Well,
last time, what did they
8 more
say?
though, right? It's,
But some of that's
But a
remodel.
lot of
Someone
that
look
was
on that.
replacing the,
So that's not all.
Oh, how
I
many
think
classrooms
eight.
in the 600 are we?
right there
Two,
was 10,
one, two, three,
right? Is that what they said? 8 to 10.
Eight? I
Eight.
think there's 8.
Yeah.
there's 8 in there,
But
I
they
think.
use it as
So-
Put minimum 8.
Minimum
And
10.
yeah, min 10, right?
Minimum 10, okay.
Yeah, there's 10, right?
Just in case.
They can change the number later.
Right, they're using.
I wanna go home. Alright, McFarland. Condense it.
Hey, Brian, we should put safety for OHS.
Yeah, safety.
Oh, yeah.
Safety, just put safety on top of all of them.
Safety is for all of
They all need
them.
to have
You
safety.
put a fence around it.
Did you go to that safety
They have a
meeting that we
fence
had,
around it.
safety forum or whatever?
Yeah, they told me it would make a difference if they put a fence around it. Okay.
I was pretty much shocked.
McFarland, safety.
Yes, don't be ridiculous.
But, other than safety, what McFarland?
They already have a fence
At
around
classrooms.
Add classrooms.
The only, at the high school, look, think of
How many?
it. When you go down
How
Hemlock,
many should
there's
we
a
have?
fence all the way down.
What was McFarland asking last
Fourth,
time?
there's a fence
How
all the
many
way
classrooms does McFarland need?
Juniper, right?
On Juniper, there's no fence, and there's no fence on 7.
4, 5.
But
Safety.
They already
We
have
got
safety.
safety
We're
for
on
all
classroom.
Okay,
Like 6?
Kimberly.
I guess classrooms instead of portables, but it depends.
Right now, this
you know,
is
I
kind of
mean,
regardless.
So there's
because
How many classes?
let's see, that's
They
Six.
leave this door to the
Six,
main
five.
building.
But for McFarland right now, this is still like K6, 7, 8, 7.
Now,
So,
Wahida.
you know
Two
that,
more 6.
Tim, you know that,
Wahidas needs to get rid of their 2 portables, or if they have 4.
We need
3
another
portables.
classroom. We need 2 more classrooms.
They have 3 to 4.
Yeah.
I have temporarily the thing, the map.
where are they gonna go? Are we gonna take our
J.D.
6th grader back? Should we not take our 6th graders back?
How do we do this?
We won't need anything at the gym.
They have a
Classrooms
close,
not
you
have
guys have a
portables?
close building, right?
Yeah, ours is, it's
That's
that's all I say.
What?
No, I
Our
know.
portables are the only
Like,
issue
that's
with
what I'm
safety.
saying, like, I would just like, decide
But
what
other than
to
that,
decide,
we're good.
let us.
So they need
2 classes.
Cafeteria is already around the corner.
Okay?
The thing
Scooty.
is if they keep this
Cafeteria,
at
gym.
7,
Just put at the
Gym.
very top,
Classrooms are
big and
open
bold.
again?
Gym.
Because right now they're not being
Yeah,
used.
gym.
And what?
So right now,
Just
all
put
these are
gym.
preschool.
We'll make it a gym. We already have a cafeteria.
Alright, gym.
And 6th and 7th
Is
fits
this
and
a
all
This is on all.
that. If these
K8
went
or
away,
K6?
they would fit right
Is
here,
this a
plus
K8 or
three
K6
more.
plan?
So there's some room.
We're just prioritizing, we're gonna
They're
be.
not, they're gonna,
Cause like McFarland, it might be
Get rid
zero
of
classes if
preschool
it's
and get rid of
K6.
the
So, on the next meeting,
And 7th, 8th, and
On the-
this whole thing is gonna be
Regardless.
well,
for a little bit, not very long.
the question is,
Guys,
just like my classroom, I'll
no
just say it,
sidebar.
right? Alright, so Jim, that was a good question. What are we talking about? K6 or K? Don't matter. We're gonna put our things, like our priorities, and then you can chug it into
Either one.
either one. You go, oh, I think both need a gym. I think both need this.
If they go
Well, the
K8,
reason-
they're both
the
gonna
reason-
need it.
The reason why she's asking
Right.
about K8 or K6 is because then you'll free up rooms in the junior high, so then you won't need the extra rooms in there.
And, but that's
That's
why,
why she's trying,
out.
that's why she's
Separate it
asking.
out
but-
later.
as of right now, this is K6.
Priorities,
Like,
priorities
and then
will
we
be
can add
different
her.
with the K through 8 versus the K through 6.
But if he's gonna go out.
This is gonna be off of K6, just to get it. And
we'll
then
just do it that way.
how do we get it?
I don't care, it's like herding cats right now.
So K6, do we need it? If the preschool doesn't stay there though,
Anything
do
else
we
on
need
Skinny
those
besides
rooms?
gyms that we found?
Well, you don't know.
Do we need more classrooms?
There was multi-purpose space which had 3.
You wouldn't have the extra rooms to house the new kids that are coming in for.
What?
we'll talk about it next time. Keep
So
that in mind.
multi-purpose room is a big one?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, the gym is huge.
What's that?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's it.
Or bathrooms,
And
priority.
classrooms.
I just put safety on the top so I don't have to rewrite it like 8
You know,
times.
I don't hate them, but I just hate the amount of money
Anything else
That we paid for.
that we pay for
Jim,
them.
we could have multi-purpose
They
room.
have classrooms.
How many classrooms?
They don't look bad. It's not their money.
Good?
Well, you have,
Okay.
you need at least
Almost.
four.
Where the car go?
Pay your own.
For what?
You guys have enough classrooms?
For K6?
Buy them.
We're okay for right now.
Buy them.
Like we would like another, oh,
Just
no, will you put 2 classrooms for school?
If you're gonna keep the one you had, you'll keep the gym. If you're
Say that again?
convert it here.
Sorry.
Splash cap.
Yeah. Whatever you guys do.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you said my name.
No, no, I was talking to
Oh,
Pete.
okay.
I was talking, no, just like the portables. Paying a crazy amount of money. Why
They're like
not
on
buy
opposite
them?
ends, like
If
if you
we're
can get
gonna
all
need
the
them so
tutors on the
bad,
same side of the.
and there's no solution to it right now, why are we keep renting
That's
the
what Pasco
portables
finally
year
did.
and year and
What?
year? $25,000 a year? You buy them in 2.
They don't have the front
First 5 years that you need them, and there's enough people here that would buy them off you anyway.
What?
That's true.
What else can Hiawatha need, guys, just because they're not here, let's let them have a little bit of.
Safety,
They have
We got safety for all.
rooms
Classrooms.
that are not classrooms.
How many classrooms did they need?
I think they
you have
have
your little map.
space. I think they have
space.
one.
They have one set of portables.
They need the, they have the gym, they need the rooms, they have 1, 2, they have 4 portables on the back, they probably need another 6 rooms.
But the portable is counting as your classroom, that's the thing. If you're gonna rent a portable, that's the classroom.
They have room, they have one.
But I think they have like one portable that doesn't have kids in
I'll
it.
try to get them to get something by the next meeting.
Only, the psych
One or
and
two?
the data coordinator.
I think they're using Hiawatha with 2 classrooms.
Looks like they.
Two double.
Looks like you want a new building in general.
I guess it's not a, it's a class, but it's.
We don't know, just a new building.
Well, I
They
think-
want a new,
So that's.
new building got.
Ryan, that was a proposal,
that's
just
still-
to build a new school building.
Yeah,
Like a preschool building or a,
Yeah,
Okay.
Some kind of school.
some kind of school,
Oh,
so.
you could just put school.
Yes, for Scootney, I do need 2 classrooms, sorry. You're right.
I thought.
Two?
what did he say, 3?
Yeah, you're right.
So, Brian, for the district, I still think we need that cold storage and dry storage, that's not really a,
100,000.
that's not an optional situation.
I think that's it really for this.
Okay,
DOJ.
I think that's
Why
what
don't
we
we
got.
at least to buy, 'cause we keep them.
I'm not even gonna buy, I did mine. We're good.
Well, you would
There's
need
gotta be.
You need an
I
admin
don't think they have
room.
one.
He needs an office
No, they don't.
that, like, you need a space that you guys can.
and a multi-purpose room, like separate for.
Why can't they take out a one?
I'm already
Reading
pretty
grade
good.
level, grade 10,
Where are they getting the 25,000?
You need an office.
What's coming out of the school?
Yeah, 3 more to house budget.
General fund.
But we already have to move 2 more to
You're telling me that you have some money to
like our building.
you have the money to go get a loan and do a general fund and take care of it?
They do, they have like a little corner for the gym.
If we went down to 3, that is, we have like the other K.
Okay, so safety guys is on everybody's thing, so I will put that on every single
If we
person.
went K.
I don't really know how you put a price on safety.
That would already be enough.
They'll never
Yeah,
develop.
I can maybe get an idea, I'll talk with Dax on that, and see what potential for that. I can condense this, now, what's on this list right here? If someone from Hiawatha, just come talk to me or get them to come over.
My daughter's
I
got
think
guns.
she's not here, that's.
No, I know, but if you see them ahead of time, just go, hey, go over to Fraser so we can get them on the list and represented. And then the next meeting, I'm gonna put a price tag to these,
You put a kid on top of
then we're gonna go,
somebody down
all right,
gets hurt.
what are we
People
gonna do?
Then that's the bond committee.
I just think.
So it's hard committee is 25.
Yeah,
And
but the cool thing is that we'll set, I'm gonna do exactly what we're
Yeah,
doing today.
So it's because what we thought we were
Do that
gonna do is
again?
not what we're doing.
At all.
So
Knock
is
it out.
nobody listening?
Alright,
That's
we're
not
good?
what I thought I was doing.
Anybody else have any comments, complaints?
Well, we were told we were coming to do.
The next meeting?
And we were told we were
Uh,
building a building, but now
December-
we're like.
It's not, don't you do that to me.
The 10th.
Yes. The 3rd?
Yeah, the 3rd. December 3rd.
Our next meeting is the 3rd. I will try to have that, so next meeting, we're gonna make a K6 and a K8 plan.
Okay.
Representatives, I need a little bit of homework from you. On your list, if you're Hiawatha and stuff, go through that, go through that,
R.
in the
Fraser
very first meeting we had, hey guys, real quick,
at
and I'll get us
Othello
out of here.
Schools.
Real quick and I'll get us out of here. If you got your school on here, go through those documents that were on that first proposal, see what we might have overlooked, compare it to what our list is, come up here, take a picture with your phone so you know it, compare and contrast, and then when we do this thing, I'll have each of you go, okay, here's what we might have overlooked, and then we'll add those onto the list on the next one with potential price. It'll have a ballpark of price. Does that make sense? Okay, so, alright, meeting adjourned.
Okay.
Is your last name F-R-A-Z-I-E-R?
F-R-A-Z-I-E-R.
Where are we going?
R. Fraser at othelloschools.org. We're all at othelloschools.org.
So please take a picture if you got your school.
Alright.
Yeah, no worries, just.
So can I ask you an invasive question?
Absolutely.
I see you have a pump. How
That's
do
the
you
whole
like
point,
it?
that way when we see the 2 plans, hey, we got 2 plans.
Are you diabetic and not?
I
have
am
one?
a diet. I am a diabetic, and I'm about to go on a pump in the next like 2 weeks.
You will have a new life.
So I've been diabetic for 19 years.
I've been diabetic for 22 years.
Yes, and I haven't had a pump.
You will be so
I have retinopathy. They just had to laser my